Russia's defense ministry also says that its soldiers destroyed a HIMARS ammunition depot.
Between 30 and 40% of the HIMARS Russia claims it destroyed were actually just giant synthetic silk sacks filled with air.
Russia destroyed more HIMARS than Ukraine ever received. That wasn't a typo. At one point, Moscow publicly claimed it had eliminated more of the US-supplied launchers than had actually been delivered. State media celebrated the kills. Briefings highlighted the precision. Another Western system neutralized. Another high-value target removed. Then another. There was just one problem. Some of them were never real. While those announcements were being made, cruise missiles were still launching from the Black Sea. Target packages were still being assembled. Coordinates were still being approved. Long-range precision weapons were still flying hundreds of kilometers to eliminate what Russian reconnaissance believed were some of the most dangerous systems on the battlefield. And some of those targets were made of wood. Ukraine didn't simply conceal its HIMARS, it multiplied them. Life-size replicas began appearing in open terrain, placed near tree lines, positioned just far enough from cover to be visible from above. The geometry was deliberate. The launcher box proportions were correct. The chassis dimensions matched. From several thousand meters up through a compressed drone feed, the silhouette held. The difference wasn't obvious. A drone operator spots the outline. The feed zooms in. Thermal optics confirm a vehicle-sized mass. A satellite pass later supports the location. The target is tagged. The coordinates move up the chain. Then comes the response. A Kalibr cruise missile launches from a Russian vessel in the Black Sea. The weapon is engineered to strike hardened infrastructure, command centers, ammunition depots. It costs well over $1 million. It travels at low altitude, navigates terrain, and corrects its path mid-flight. It slams into a wooden frame. In the first weeks alone, at least 10 cruise missiles were sent toward these replicas, 10 precision weapons, a cumulative cost measured in the tens of millions. Meanwhile, the real HIMARS launchers were relocating, firing, and disappearing. Ammunition depots erupted, bridges were struck, command posts were disrupted. The actual systems continued operating while their duplicates absorbed the retaliation. This wasn't theatrical deception, it was structural. Ukraine studied how Russia hunts. Russian targeting depends on layered reconnaissance, UAV feeds, satellite imagery, signal intercepts, pattern recognition. When a high-value silhouette appears, speed matters. Delay risks losing the target to mobility. The doctrine favors rapid confirmation and immediate engagement. Ukraine turned that urgency into exposure. Instead of relying only on concealment, it introduced duplication. Instead of minimizing signatures entirely, it began generating controlled ones. The objective wasn't to disappear, it was to present something believable enough to destroy. The exchange ratio tells the story. A replica costing a fraction of a real launcher attracts a missile worth more than $1 million. Even a limited number of successful bait strikes shifts the economic logic of precision warfare. The strike looks successful. The launcher appears destroyed. The report moves upward. But the real system remains. This was not a one-time trick. Once it proved effective, it expanded. Because HIMARS is only one silhouette. Soon, similar shapes began appearing across other sectors. Tanks positioned in revetments, self-propelled artillery tucked into tree lines, air defense systems placed within predictable drone sightlines. From altitude, they appeared operational. From certain angles, they appeared active. Some of them were not. Some register convincingly through optical feeds. Some glow under thermal cameras. Some produce radar reflections that resemble armored steel. Many can be deployed in minutes. The battlefield began filling with targets that looked legitimate, behaved plausibly, and justified expensive responses. Russia wasn't just striking equipment. In certain cases, it was striking the idea of equipment. And once that distinction blurs, the math of the war begins to change. The wooden launchers were only the beginning. What followed was larger, broader, harder to filter out. Across multiple sectors of the front, Russian drone feeds began picking up familiar shapes. Tank hulls dug into defensive lines, self-propelled guns tucked near tree cover, rocket systems positioned at angles consistent with firing posture. From 2,000 meters up, they looked ready. Some of them were inflatable. Ukraine expanded the deception beyond launchers and into armor itself. Full-scale tank replicas began appearing in revetments and along defensive belts, not crude props, not something you'd mistake at ground level. These were proportionally accurate models matching turret shape, barrel length, hull height, and overall silhouette. From above, that's what matters. Russian reconnaissance rarely identifies targets from 10 meters away. It identifies them from altitude, through compressed drone feeds, through thermal overlays, through pattern recognition. A tank is often identified by outline first. Ukraine leaned into that reality. Inflatable tank replicas were designed to mimic T-72 type silhouettes, self-propelled artillery forms, even Western-supplied platforms. Once positioned inside earthworks or behind partial cover, the visual cues become even more convincing. A partially concealed tank is harder to scrutinize than one in the open. If you're enjoying this video, hit that like and subscribe button. Right now, it helps a lot. Then comes the sensor layer. Modern Russian drones don't rely only on optics. Thermal cameras scan for heat signatures. Some targeting systems use radar-assisted tracking. Loitering munitions often confirm via infrared contrast before diving. So the decoys adapted. Heating elements were integrated to generate thermal signatures that resemble idling engines. Reflective materials were inserted to create a radar return closer to armored steel than empty fabric. From altitude, through a thermal feed, the image glows where it should glow. Through certain radar modes, it behaves like mass. It doesn't have to be perfect. It only has to survive long enough to trigger a strike decision. Deployment speed is critical. These tank replicas can be unpacked, inflated, anchored, and left in under 10 minutes by a small team. If a sector is under heavy surveillance, real armor relocates. The inflatable remains. The drone sees a tank in the same position. The coordinates go up, the strike follows, and when the missile hits, the explosion looks convincing from above. The shape collapses, smoke rises, debris scatters. From 1,500 meters, it reads as a destroyed vehicle. The battle damage assessment logs another tank eliminated, but the real tank moved hours earlier. This creates layered distortion. On the tactical level, Russian forces may believe a defensive belt has been weakened. On the operational level, aggregated reports may suggest armor depletion in a sector. On the informational level, public announcements reinforce the perception that Ukrainian mechanized capacity is shrinking. Meanwhile, the actual armored units remain intact, dispersed, and harder to track. The psychological impact compounds over time. If drone operators begin questioning every armored silhouette, targeting slows. More confirmation passes are requested. More ISR hours are spent double-checking. Precision munitions are held slightly longer before approval. That hesitation changes tempo. And tempo is everything in modern warfare. Ukraine doesn't rely only on advanced inflatables either. In some areas, low-tech tank outlines are built from scrap, logs, and sheet metal, positioned in revetments to suggest armored presence. Oil drums and debris are arranged to imply artillery parks. Simple wooden gun barrels extend from dugouts. These don't need to fool satellites. They only need to attract artillery shells or loitering drones. In a war measured by ammunition consumption, even a handful of diverted strikes matters. The cumulative effect is subtle but powerful. An armored brigade might appear to field more vehicles than it actually does. A defensive sector may look reinforced. A strike package might expend munitions against what appears to be a high-value armored cluster. But some of that cluster is air and fabric. Russia entered the war expecting to methodically dismantle Ukrainian armor through surveillance and long-range precision. Identify, strike, confirm, move on. Instead, parts of that firepower are disappearing into decoys that weigh less than a single road wheel on a real tank. And the more these replicas blend into the battlefield, the harder it becomes to separate reality from inflation. Because on a sensor-saturated front, what matters isn't just what exists, it's what can be made to look like it exists. The real damage isn't the missile that hits a replica, it's the decision that launched it. Modern precision warfare runs on confidence. A target is identified. The system believes it understands what it's looking at. A strike is approved because the value justifies the cost. Ukraine's decoy network attacks that confidence directly. When a cruise missile worth over $1 million detonates on a replica launcher, the financial loss is obvious. What's less obvious is the opportunity cost. That missile cannot be used against a real ammunition depot. It cannot strike a power station. It cannot target a troop concentration. One launch equals one less option later. And Russia does not have infinite stocks of high-end precision weapons. Kalibr cruise missiles are complex to produce. Iskander-M systems require specialized components. Guided rockets rely on electronics that are not easily replaced under sanctions pressure. Every wasted strike compounds future constraints. Ukraine doesn't need to intercept every missile. It only needs to misdirect enough of them. Over time, that shifts the cost curve. If even a portion of Russia's precision inventory is spent on non-existent systems, the efficiency of its long-range strike campaign erodes. The same number of launches produces fewer real effects. The same resources generate less battlefield change. There's also a distortion effect. Russian battle damage assessment depends on post-strike imagery. A target is observed, it is hit. The wreckage appears convincing. It is logged as destroyed. Reports move upward. Planning adapts accordingly. But if the destroyed object was inflatable or wooden, the assessment is fundamentally flawed. That can influence follow-on operations. A commander who believes a sector's artillery has been neutralized might shift resources elsewhere. Air defense suppression claims might create openings that don't actually exist. Operational planning becomes built on partial illusions. Even public messaging plays a role. Announcements of destroyed Western systems serve propaganda value. They project control. They reassure domestic audiences. But if the physical reality does not match the report, the gap widens over time. And that gap creates strategic friction. Meanwhile, Ukraine's real systems continue operating behind that fog. HIMARS units relocate, fire, and disperse. Artillery batteries reposition, air defense networks shift coverage. Because decoys draw surveillance and strikes toward false concentrations, genuine assets gain breathing room. This aligns with a broader doctrine: dispersion, mobility, deception. Instead of concentrating equipment in ways that are easy to map, Ukraine creates layered ambiguity. A drone feed may show 5 tanks. Only 2 are operational. The rest exist to absorb attention and firepower. The effect isn't dramatic in a single engagement. It accumulates, missile by missile, shell by shell, decision by decision. In a war where both sides measure endurance in ammunition stockpiles and production capacity, forcing the adversary into inefficient expenditure is a strategic objective in itself. Ukraine's decoys do not win battles alone. They alter ratios, they stretch timelines, they complicate targeting, and they quietly transform one of Russia's core advantages, long-range precision, into a system that must constantly question its own results. On a modern battlefield saturated with drones, satellites, thermal optics, and radar, visibility is supposed to be power. Ukraine is proving that visibility can also be manipulated, because if you can make your enemy see what isn't there, you don't just protect your forces. You shape the war around uncertainty. And uncertainty in a conflict driven by precision is expensive. For decades, military power was measured in steel, tanks, aircraft, missiles, warships. The assumption was simple: the side with more precision, more sensors, more expensive hardware would dominate. Ukraine is exposing a flaw in that assumption, because modern warfare is no longer just about destroying equipment. It's about forcing the enemy to miscalculate. A cruise missile does not care whether it hits a real launcher or an inflatable one. The cost is the same. The inventory count drops either way. A satellite image does not immediately distinguish between steel and synthetic fabric. A thermal drone feed cannot always separate a heated replica from a running engine at altitude. And when decision-making cycles are compressed, hesitation is dangerous. So strikes get approved. That's the pressure point. Russia built a long-range precision strike doctrine designed to dismantle infrastructure, suppress air defenses, and eliminate high-value Western systems. It relies on speed, surveillance, and expensive munitions. Ukraine introduced friction, not by matching missile for missile, but by altering what those missiles see. This isn't new in principle. Armies have used deception for centuries. Dummy airfields in World War II, fake artillery, phantom armies. What's new is the integration. Today's decoys are built to defeat not just the human eye, but sensors, infrared, radar, pattern recognition, machine-assisted targeting. and they can be deployed in minutes. That changes survivability calculations. If a $20,000 or $50,000 system can repeatedly draw in weapons worth millions, the economic logic of precision warfare begins to strain, especially in a prolonged conflict where production capacity matters. The battlefield becomes saturated with ambiguity. Every target must be questioned. Every strike carries doubt. Every confirmed kill requires verification. That slows momentum. It drains resources. It forces caution. And in modern war, hesitation can be as costly as destruction. Ukraine's decoy network is not flashy. It doesn't trend on social media the way a tank breakthrough does. It doesn't produce dramatic footage like a missile intercept, but it quietly absorbs force, quietly protects Western systems, quietly reshapes the cost equation, and that might be the most disruptive part.